Hey everyone, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather. We have a severe thunderstorm warning. Sorry, we're coming on a couple of minutes late here, but I just walked in the door and ran back to the room. So, severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson and Williamson counties. This is for storm back to the west of us. Doesn't look all that impressive on radar, but it is actually blowing pretty hard out there. They've got some wind damage up west of us, and going to be dealing with that for a little bit. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. The storm's not here yet to us. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to share a link with the guys that they can jump in here to our stream if they want to. And I'm going to get our YouTube link tweeted. Right. So we'll do that here, and they'll get things going on their end as we start streaming. There's Graham. Graham, how's it going?
Good, going good. We're back.
We are back. Got some rest, and we're back. So yeah, Graham will be covering things over on Instagram for us as we got these storms coming in. And I tell you, these storms they don't look impressive on radar. We've got a little bit of a unique situation today, and I'll tell you a little bit about that situation as we go here. But we've got a little bit of a unique situation where some of the storms today will produce wind damage and hail, and they won't look all that impressive on radar. So there are a couple of things in play. One of them is that the freezing level in the atmosphere is very low today. So only, I think they said up like 8,000 feet. Well, 8,000 feet, it's 72 degrees in my backyard, but it's freezing at like 8,000 feet. That's very low. So the rate at which the temperature goes from 72 degrees to freezing is very fast. And so that's enabling these storms to sort of bubble up as the warm air rises into that cold air. What that causes is that can cause a couple of things. One is it can cause hail in storms that just typically are no big deal, just garden variety storms. Basically, if there's any lightning out there today, that storm is capable of producing hail today. So hail will be very easy to come by. The second thing is that we can get what are called they're microbursts, where we can get some strong gusty winds that come out of storms that really don't look all that impressive. And the reason for that is because we have such dry air down here at the surface. And as that rain falls through that dry air, that air cools off, get evaporative cooling, and it becomes more dense and it can rush down to the ground. A lot of science there just to say that the storms don't have to look incredibly impressive on radar today for us to get some hail and some strong winds. So the Weather Service has opted to go for a severe thunderstorm warning here. We're not really worried about tornadoes today. We don't have a tornado set up. The winds are not favorable for that really at all. And so really today our threat is going to be hail. And if the storm can get going enough, it could be pretty large. So we could have hail as high as maybe golf balls, but that'll be in the strongest of storms today. And then, of course, the strong gusty winds that we can get as well, which come out of these, that actually has caused a little bit of damage back to the west in Stewart County. There's some trees down on Lee Hollow Road out there in Stewart County, and I saw some reports of power poles and stuff down as well. So again, the storms didn't look all that impressive back there, but they did do some wind damage. Another thing we'll notice today is that the storms will kind of go up and down. There's not a lot of shear out there in the atmosphere to really sustain these updrafts. And so as you can see, that storm up there that was severe warned earlier up along the Tennessee-Kentucky border, well, that sucker just fizzled out. There's nothing left of it. So storms will get going, they'll fizzle out, they'll morph and change, and so we might have really big severe thunderstorm warnings today. And you may not get a severe storm where you are, but down the road you might, even though you might be in a warning, just because these storms are going to morph and change over time as they come through town. So severe thunderstorm warning here for both Davidson and Williamson counties. And for Williamson, it's really the northwest quarter of the county, and it's for places like Fairview and Natchez Trace Bridge and Fernvale. And then up there in Davidson County, pretty much the west half, everybody pretty much west of I-65, covered in the severe thunderstorm warning at this point. Then they'll decide whether to extend the severe thunderstorm warning off to the east, and we'll see if that happens depending on kind of how reports go over the next half hour or so. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Reports are very important today. And so if you get hail where you are, if you either take a photo of that, compare it to the size of a coin, something like that, anything, something like that that's helpful, a standard size that we can compare it with, and that helps the Weather Service to know what's coming out of these storms as they push into town. That helps them know, do they need to extend the warning off to the east? Do they need to let it go? It wasn't that bad. Whatever it is that they need to do, those reports will help them tremendously as they make those decisions based on those reports. Same thing for wind applies. If the wind is incredibly strong where you are, if you've got damage, you got trees down, whatever, let us know that. That's very helpful information for the Weather Service, again, as they make determinations on issuing warnings. Hey, Elon.
Hello. How's it going?
It's good, man. What's happening with you?
Not much. Just wrapping up the week.
Are you running Twitter right now? I
am.
Thanks. Or that and Threads and Blue Sky, I guess. We run together. So thanks for jumping in there. Appreciate that. These storms were not a surprise to us today. A little surprising how strong they are. The damage they're producing, I think, of course, there was a severe risk today, but I was not exactly expecting for a severe thunderstorm warning to come out while I was about 5 minutes away from home. So I had to hurry home. So had to jump on pretty quick. Let me go on to another. I'm going to move over to another radar here. Let's go over to. Let's go over here. This will help us see a little better. Let's do some ETAs. All right, this is gonna be really rough ETAs, but let's say like 5:15 in the west part of Davidson County. Let's say maybe 5:30 downtown Nashville. 5:40 eastern part of Davidson. Same really applies for Williamson. 5:10, 5:15 for Fairview. I-65 around 5:30, Nolensville area about 5:40. So, but again, it's a little bit tough to pinpoint exactly where the hail or the high winds are going to be. Go over here and look at velocities. We've got some pretty strong velocities coming through. Let's go back over to the other radar here. Let me show you. So here's an area here around Ashland City of some enhanced winds here. So winds up to, according to radar, at about 2,000 feet. We're looking at winds at about 70 miles per hour. All right, this is maybe not as extensive as what we had the other day, but it looks pretty strong. So winds up to 70 miles per hour at 2,000 feet is pretty high. All right, so that looks to be coming right through Ashland City. Looks like that's kind of diving a little bit southeast, guys, so that's actually kind of headed toward downtown. So if you sort of extrapolate that out, that'd be kind of coming down Ashland City Highway. It looks like the strongest winds there coming down Ashland City Highway right into town. So let's do what we did the other day and follow these things in a little bit on traffic cams. So I'll kind of get those ready. And the first place we'll find this storm is when it comes into the Briley Parkway Loop. Guys, Will and I just wrapped up a little bit ago, wrapped up a podcast with our friend Demetria Kalodimos. If you've been around Nashville a long time, you remember her. She's doing work over at the Nashville Banner now, and Will and I were over there this afternoon doing a podcast with her that should, I believe, come out this weekend, maybe Sunday. And we had a great conversation with her. She still has it. She's a great interviewer. We really enjoyed our time with her. So we'll let you know about that when it comes out. All right, this severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go back over here and sort of look how unimpressive these things look, guys. I mean, it's just I tell you where the wind is. This is what's so strange is that the wind is right here is where the damaging winds are. Way out ahead of that heaviest rain. So if those winds are reaching the ground, they're in an area of fairly light rain, and it almost looks, the Weather Service was mentioning this, and I agree with them, it sort of looks like what they have out west, kind of a dry microburst setup, and where you don't really have to have a lot of rain to get some of the strong wind in these situations. So it'd be interesting to see how this pans out here over the next little bit. This warning is in effect until 5:15. I believe, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5:15. So we'll see at that point whether they extend it. But right now, this thing looks pretty impressive on the velocities. So this is the reflectivities. This is, this is the rain view here. Well, then we go over and look at velocities, and there's some really strong velocities right there. So it's one of those things that's a little bit deceiving. This is right over near Ashland City, coming in right down Highway 12, which is Ashland City Highway. So areas like Scottsboro, Bells Bend. Let's do some of these roads out here. That's going to be Bull Run Road, River Trace, Cub Creek, Old Hickory Boulevard into Bells Bend, Lakeview Drive. Could have some really strong winds here in a bit. We said Cub Creek, Cockrell Bend. Again, Old Hickory Boulevard heading down toward the river. And then that's River Road, I believe. 251, I think, is River Road. So, we could have some strong winds coming in here in just a minute. Switch back over and gauge these a little bit speed-wise. Looks like we still have possibility of some 70-mile-per-hour gusts. Again, that's coming up. That's now come under 2,000 feet. So as we get closer into town, we're going to see these the altitudes come down as far as where the radar beam is hitting these storms or this strong area of wind. And so right now, and that'll help us as we get closer to see if the winds are actually reaching the ground. But yeah, 71 miles per hour there, guys, about 1,900 feet. So it looks like Ashland City getting a windstorm there over the next few minutes. And let's pull back and sort of see how that is coming into town. So here's Highway 12. This is Ashland City Highway here, coming into Briley on the west side of Nashville, and then into town. So we'll see how that, it looks like it'll sort of follow Ashland City Highway as it comes into Davidson County. And there's our new radar scan there.
National Weather Service said this thing should be downtown in the next 15 minutes or so.
So it's moving. So it's moving pretty good. If you're downtown if you're in downtown, looks like we could have some strong winds down there here in the next 15 minutes or so. Moving toward downtown in the next 15, 20 minutes. Guys, if y'all could sort of be watching some reports come in chat and other places, that would help me a lot. And as we just sort of gauge what this thing is doing as it comes in. So here's the deal. If you're in Williamson County, we don't see as much of the wind in Williamson on radar, but we're not really going to. Let me pull up TBNA radar here. Let me see if I can get TBNA. Yeah, TBNA shows very much the situation in Cheatham County. In fact, it really extends the winds down to Kingston Springs. So it really may be an issue all the way from like I-40, maybe even down toward Bellevue. Well, probably all the way down to Bellevue, all the way up into Bells Bend and downtown Nashville, and even all the way up to Beaman Park. So a pretty wide swath of strong winds here, and probably some hail involved in there as well. This is TBNA radar. This is down in Nolensville. So really, the Nolensville radar has a good read on it because it's really headed right for it. So I'm glad we have TBNA today. We don't always get that luxury. But this is headed right for the TBNA radar. So it looks like between downtown Nashville, maybe just north of downtown as well, all the way down to Bells Bend, Riverwalk, Bellevue, Pasco, and maybe even down to Franklin as this thing continues diving southeast. We could have some strong winds there over the next 15, 20, even 30 minutes, eventually down toward Creve Hall, Antioch, and Nolensville as well. So we'll have to see if this holds together. If it holds together, the Weather Service will extend or issue a new warning off to the east for this area of strong winds. But what's very important is that you send in your reports, and your reports are very important to us. So if you experience strong winds, maybe some damage there because of those winds, send us a report using hashtag TSpotter on X. You can also DM us on Instagram. You can put it in, or you can just reply to us on X if you'd like. Sometimes we miss those, but we'll do our best to see those. But that's what that's where we're going to be looking for reports. We'll get those over to the Weather Service as they make these decisions.
Walter in the chat says horrible winds coming through Ashland City. So looks like these winds might be getting to the ground in some way.
Might be reaching the ground in some way. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, thanks for that report. That's good to know. Yeah, that's really good to know. So, here's, again, we're going to stick to TBNA here. This is TBNA radar, and this is down in Nolensville, shooting right back to the northwest toward Ashland City. And again, it's reading winds. I would say they average here, just kind of doing a scan, about 65 to 70 miles per hour. That's at about 1,400 feet. And the way we have these, guys, the way we meteorologically have these essentially dry microbursts today, that makes it more likely that these are reaching the ground because there's really nothing to stop them from reaching the ground. It's a different setup than we usually have around here. Our setups, in fact, I don't remember. I know we've had this before, but I can't remember the last event we had that was kind of this way. It's just a little different. So we have to watch for things we're not really used to watching for. For example, right here around Ashland City, we got this strong wind coming through Ashland City, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds potentially there in Ashland City. Well, then you look at the reflectivity. Well, this looks like nothing. Like we wouldn't even pay attention to this kind of reflectivity on a normal day. I mean, this just would not even look like anything impressive. But that's where the winds are coming right through Ashland City in this gray and light blue and maybe yellow area there. That's totally contrary to what we normally look for in storms around here. It's just a different setup today, so we got to watch for some different stuff.
Getting some reports of strong winds in the Franklin area, which we're not really seeing that on radar, but
yeah. Not seeing that on TBNA yet, but wouldn't doubt that some of these, I can see, there's a couple of areas even in the 40s to 50s up there around 400 feet. I could see that. I could see that being a thing there. It's really anywhere under these. Really anywhere. So the setup we have today, essentially anywhere you see this rain coming in, this light rain is going to have what's called evaporative cooling as it falls. Our lower levels of the atmosphere are very, very dry. And so as it falls, you're going to get evaporative cooling. Water's going to try to evaporate. That rain's going to try to evaporate, and that's going to make it cooler and dense, and it's just going to cave to the ground. So anywhere you get these light rain showers, your wind is probably going to pick up and be pretty strong. Now, the strongest area of wind right now looks like it's up here in Cheatham County. I mean, man, we're getting some 60 to 70s up here in Cheatham under this just relatively light, moderate rain. up there. So would not surprise me at all if they extend this warning to the southeast here in the next few minutes as this wind comes in. So if you're in Davidson County, downtown Nashville, really from the 2465 split up on the north side, and maybe even further north, a little hard for the radar to judge it, but maybe the Old Hickory Boulevard loop on the north side, down to further south, down through downtown, Creve Hall, Brentwood, and down to Franklin even. Very strong winds possible in pretty light rain. Okay, and you may even get a little bit of hail with this. It's just kind of what we've been dealt today. So one severe thunderstorm warning in effect currently, and that is for western Davidson County for this wind coming in from the west. We've been getting reports from Kingston Springs, from William here says very windy in Kingston Springs near I-40. Barely any rain so far. And that's so different than what we usually experience, all right? Usually the strongest winds are kind of in that heavy rain core of the storm, and that's not it today. That's not what we're going to see. The strongest winds may be out in just very light sprinkles. New severe thunderstorm warning just showed up here for the rest of Davidson County, really all of Davidson County now, and the northern part of Williamson County. So they're going to extend this warning. Wouldn't surprise me if they even go a little further south with it and include Franklin here after a while. And because the wind is kind of diving down to the southeast, wouldn't surprise me if they go a little further south into Williamson at some point. But for right now, we're up here in Davidson County. So all of Davidson County under severe thunderstorm warning now. That one is going to be in effect until 5:45. And that's going to be for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that can cause some damage to roofs, siding, and trees, as they point out, and I think that's exactly right. So very windy in Franklin, they're saying over there in the chat. Strong winds in Riverwalk. Yeah. So Riverwalk being right here, getting some of the blues coming in. Bells Bend here. Franklin down here, again with some light showers down there in Franklin. Let's go down there and look at it. There's light showers in Franklin producing some strong winds down there. I don't know, guys, that we're going to see a lot of hail out of this one. These storms aren't quite, the ones we're getting are not currently tall enough to give us a bunch of hail, which we could be getting out of these storms. It's a great hail setup today, just almost a perfect hail setup for today. But it looks like the main threat with these right here is going to be a little bit of lightning, maybe a little bit of hail, but the wind is really going to be something coming through the west sides of town. So. That's definitely going to be something to watch. Let's go over. I'm going to start pulling up some traffic cameras here. Let's see what we can see. Nothing yet. This is Bradley Parkway, Centennial Boulevard. We were just right here the other day. And we'll be watching this one and a couple of others as this wind comes in. Getting gusty there in Bellevue. This is I-40 over near the Harpeth River Bridge. And getting gusty there for sure. Severe thunderstorm. Yeah, say that again.
Seen a few reports in the YouTube chat of some winds down near Ashland City.
Oh yeah, just strong winds there in Ashland City. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm gonna go get a couple more cameras here in just a second. Strong wind now on TBNA. You can sort of see this area. It really stretches from about Beeman Park, coming into downtown, about to cross into the Briley Parkway loop, coming into the Hillwood neighborhoods, West Mead, Bellevue, Pasco, and eventually down toward Brentwood, and maybe even down as far south as Franklin and Cool Springs. But again, you look at radar here and you're like, okay, I mean, what's that? Not much. It's just some light wind. I mean, light rain. That's about it. But it's definitely pretty strong. Briley north of White Bridge Roads is right there near the beginning of Briley Parkway, the left side. So we'll keep an eye on these and see what's going on. It's pretty strong though. These trees are moving pretty good. I was just seeing some pictures here. James Spann down in Alabama was posting some of these pictures. Now, these are down in Alabama in his viewing area. This is not unlike what is possible up in our area today. These hailstones, they could be very typical of what we could find in Middle Tennessee today, as the freezing level up above our heads is down to like 8,000 feet or something like that, which is extremely low for us here this time of year, and that'll definitely help hail to grow up in these quote unquote storms. So looks to me kind of hazy on this traffic camera, especially in the distance there, and these cedar trees are moving a lot. I could see them there. Maybe a little hard to see on the video, but the wind is definitely blowing there. It looks pretty dusty, to be honest with you. Probably part of that's some drizzle, some light rain, but it definitely looks like wind's blowing pretty hard there. This is Briley Parkway, just north of Centennial Boulevard. Again, it just seems like yesterday we were watching these cameras for straight line winds as well. And looks like we're getting reports here. This one came from Trey. And Trey says that the winds there in Ashland City just tore a big chunk of shingles off their neighbor's roof. So that's no good. No good at all. But that's the kind of winds we're dealing with. And so we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 5:45 here for Davidson and Williamson. All right, so it looks like now we're sort of that's a huge severe thunderstorm warning for that's down in Murray, Hickman, Lewis, Wayne, Lawrence, Giles, and Marshall. Big old severe thunderstorm warning there. Williamson is right in the middle. Williamson is not covered in that warning. So those of you in Franklin and Spring Hill and along 840 kind of sandwiched between a couple of warnings there. But these are pretty strong winds coming through. Let's go. Yeah, here's TBNA. Man, oh man. Yeah, these are big winds.
See someone in chat saying, mentioning the crazy wind in Ashland City and that they have some trees down.
Yep, this kind of wind will do it. It looks, from what I can tell, it looks kind of 60 mile per hour, kind of a borderline severe windstorm here. We're getting some reports of strong winds right under these light returns. So if we switch over to regular radar here, so all of these strong winds are occurring in this kind of precip. It's very, very interesting for us. So very light rain, light to moderate rain maybe, and some really strong winds underneath it. All right, so yeah, the only severe thunderstorm warning remaining in effect now for us is this new one that they issued a few minutes ago. That's in effect for another 30 minutes. Strongest wind appears on TBNA. Strongest wind appears to be around Bells Bend and right around John C. Toon Airport, Cockrell Bend Boulevard, and Brawley Parkway and Centennial Boulevard. That's right there around where the strongest winds appear to be right now. And that sort of fits with what we're seeing on traffic cameras. Again, this is not real heavy rain. You see the sprinkles and light rain, and those cedar trees there are blowing pretty hard. This wind is moving pretty good. It's just one of the more interesting setups I remember, guys. I don't remember a lot of these. Strong wind now appears to be around Lipscomb University. Area of strong wind has picked up there around the 100 Oaks area. 440, and I'm sitting here looking at the traffic. There's going to be a lot of people on the road when this hits. A lot of people on the road as this comes through. All right, let's go back to radar here. So strong winds appear to be kind of around Oak Hill, stretching from Oak Hill down to Forest Hills, Tyne Boulevard area. And it seems like they always get some trees down out there in the Oak Hill, Tyne Boulevard, Forest Hills area. Hopefully not today, especially as people driving home from work. Extending down into Williamson County, they're around Horseshoe Bend, Laurelbrook, Sunnyside, Grassland, over into West Brentwood. Strong winds there as well. Guys, any more reports coming in that we can share?
I've seen a few people say some really strong winds in the Nations.
So let's go over here and let's sort of talk about what we've got here. For those of you joining us recently, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for what looks like a very unimpressive area of storms on reflectivities. But I got to tell you, these things are pretty impressive wind-wise. So while they don't look impressive, not a lot of reds and purples and all that kind of stuff on radar, the wind velocities on these things are a different story. So the severe thunderstorm warning is not for anything you see here on this radar. The severe thunderstorm warning is what we see over here on this view, and this is the velocities from TBNA, which is down here in Nolensville, shooting back to the west. And we've got winds that are registering at 60 miles per hour at about 400 to 500 feet, which is pretty impressive. And those winds extend from Oak Hill over to 100 Oaks, going through Creve Hall right now, possibly 65 mile per hour winds over in Creve Hall, all the way down into the Grassland area, Forest Hills, Belmead, and all the way back up to John C. Toon Airport. I'm watching that at my house too. The winds, some of the winds got here. I imagine they'll get a lot stronger here in a little bit.
Yeah,
But,
just got some winds here at my
Speaking
house.
of,
Glen Cliff.
Yeah, I was going to say probably near you, Graham. What'd you say, Elon?
speaking of John C. Toon Airport, they just measured a 58.7 mile per hour wind gust there. So
Really? 58 mile per hour wind gust at John C. Toon. So that's the airport over there west of Nashville, in the west part of town. And yeah, that's pretty strong. Getting reports back from the west. Back in Perry County, they got 5 trees they've counted so far down over there. And multiple other reports of trees down back to our west. So, yeah, this area of wind seems to mean business. And especially if you're out driving, if you're maybe listening to us, you got us streaming there in the car as you're driving, commuting home. Just my best advice is just kind of avoid areas of like a lot of trees surrounding the road. Use some common sense. If the wind is blowing where you are, maybe you're on 65 south or going through some of these neighborhoods, just maybe try to avoid as best you can some of the trees, the tree-lined roads, just for a little bit. Let this blow through and let the winds cool off a little bit before you keep going. It's just we've seen some really interesting videos the past couple of days of people getting in trouble with trees coming down on their cars and making miraculous escapes out of that situation. So just be careful with that as this comes through. The highest winds, I kind of have a hard time telling you exactly where they are because they sort of blossom up, and then it's these microbursts that sort of get going and then they fall apart, and it's just kind of hard to tell you exactly where they are all the time. Probably an area of enhanced winds there around Governor's Club and Edmondson Elementary, right along Concord Road. Another one back here around Bell Reeve, Scales Elementary, West Brentwood. A couple more up here around Oak Hill, Tyne Boulevard, and on up into, like we said, the John C. Toon neighborhood, Bordeaux, TSU, all that. So really anywhere you see these brighter blues or the brighter greens here, but especially the blues, these are the areas where specifically you might get some of the stronger winds. Looks like Brandon here shared this with us. This is a picture downtown, a bunch of wind down there. And again, the bulk of the rain hasn't even arrived yet. This is at 6th and Union. Traffic light problem there, 6th and Union. So, the winds are really something. So use caution if you're driving for sure.
Cheryl in the chat says some trees are down on Old Hickory Boulevard in Bells Bend.
In where?
Bells Bend.
Bells Bend, yeah, back there to the west. Could Graham, you have chat access, right?
Yep.
Could you text Will and see if he's taking reports or if you need to put those in chat? That's the kind of stuff we need to get into chat. you have Will's number, I guess. Looks like 50, 56. Say 56 miles per hour, maybe at the tower in at B and A, but not sure yet. That's unconfirmed, but we'll check on that. But yeah, could be some strong winds really anywhere. Somebody just reported here, wind is really strong in Brentwood, south of Old Hickory Boulevard. So it looks pretty widespread. I would say the strong winds are pretty widespread with this. Yeah, any reports you can send us would be fantastic.
Another report in the chat that says a power line is down in Capitol View.
Power lines down in Capitol View. Okay. Looks like currently with NES, there's about 3,200 customers without power, most of them over on the west side, both on the west side and near downtown. So it's, but I'm sure that number will grow merely because of the amount of space this is covering. I mean, a lot of area here. So you're looking at TBNA here. This again is the radar in Nolensville, and what we see is the winds get lower in the atmosphere. The radar is starting to read them. You know, the radar beam's going to be lower to the ground, going to be more accurate of what we get here at the surface level. So we're starting to see and zero in on these areas of winds that are probably actually reaching the ground. So the strongest area of wind now looks to be coming through Creve Hall, Oak Hill. Another area of wind from Brentwood down to really from the north part of Brentwood all the way down to the south side of Brentwood, approaching Crockett Park, Governor's Club, and coming into the Nolensville area here in a little bit. So again, really where you see these brighter greens and the blues especially, this whole area here from Brentwood all the way up into Nashville is where the strongest winds are, and this is where we would expect to have the heaviest wind damage, or potentially some hail, but mostly this is a wind issue here. Looks like we've got a sign that blew over there. This is at I-40 East, just before 28th Avenue. An interstate sign came down over there. And those things are normally designed, they actually have like a knuckle in them, and they're designed, I can't remember if it's 45, 50, whatever the wind speed is, they're designed to actually break in half. They have a knuckle in them that's designed to break. But that doesn't look like what happened there. That looks like that thing just failed. So that's pretty strong wind. Let's see here. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect here for, again, you're looking at radar here, and this, you know, you've been around here a while, you look at this and you're like, okay, that looks like one of the most unimpressive storms on radar, and there's a severe thunderstorm warning for it. Well, this is for wind, and this is for really strong winds under pretty light rain. And so don't let the rain deceive you. The wind is going to be pretty strong as it comes through. So one area of strong wind over here in East Nashville. There's an area of strong wind there. Back out, there's another one down here around Oak Hill and Creve Hall, an area there. In fact, let me go up a little bit in the atmosphere here. Yeah, another area here around Nippers Corner. Another one in Brentwood. And that's all approaching, the southern part of that's going to be approaching Nolensville here in just a minute. So that's where it looks like the strongest winds are currently. And the warning is in effect until 5:45. So about another 15 minutes on this storm, or on this warning. Hopefully on this storm. So your reports are very valuable to us. So one of the best ways that you can get us reports is using hashtag TSpotter on X, or you can DM us on Instagram. You can put it in the chat here on our live stream, but we may or may not see it, unfortunately. Hopefully. Ooh, who got that one? That'd be Graham.
That'd be me. Forgot to mute. Starting to get some more tree down reports here in the chat.
Did you find out who's got reports? Did you hear from Will?
I didn't, but I've been kind of throwing them in myself.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay.
In the chat, seeing power line down in Green Hills by Hillsborough High School, as well as a tree down blocking Woodlawn Drive.
Okay. New severe thunderstorm warning for Williamson County. Again, this not surprising at all. This thing was kind of diving southeast. So new severe thunderstorm warning for Williamson County. I'll show it to you a little easier over here. This is going to be basically from downtown Franklin down to the southeast, covering Triune, Eagleville, and on over into Rutherford County. So new severe thunderstorm warning for 45 minutes. I don't think it'll last that long, hopefully, here in Williamson County. But the strongest winds now approaching areas like Nolensville, Franklin, Page High School, down to College Grove. So that's where that warning is in effect for right here. Excuse me, right there. So that's our new severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect until 6:15. And again, this is for strong gusty winds that could bring down trees and power lines, and which is very dangerous, especially to be driving in. So my best advice with this kind of warning, this is not a basement situation. This is not a, you have to run to your interior room, closet, or bathroom type of situation. This is mostly a situation of avoid the trees. All right, the trees could be a problem. If you're driving, the trees could be a problem. If you're in a house that's surrounded by trees, use your best judgment there and what you can to do to keep yourself safe in that house. But just try to avoid falling trees. That's my best advice for you on this kind of situation. And those are the kind of the types of reports we're getting, guys. I think that's the trees and power line situation. That's kind of what we are looking at now. So a lot of reports of power flickering and power outages. Elin, you see that note from David?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, cool. I think the wind's got my dog fired up. Let's go check velocities out over here. They're not looking as impressive close to the radar. That's a good thing. Doesn't mean there's not tree and power line issues going on, but it means that perhaps the winds are gusting into the 50s, and maybe they won't gust into the 60s. Let's hope that's what that is. But we're not seeing, you notice the blues have really, I mean, let me zoom out here and look. The blues have really disappeared as they've arrived at the radar site. So let's hope that means that maybe the 60s are starting to disappear there. Oh, it just arrived at my house. Wowzers. That's respectable. Interesting. That's so bizarre that we get winds like that with that. That's just so interesting. All right, so we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings still in effect. One of them's in effect, the northern one up here for wow. That is impressive. The northern one up here for Davidson County is in effect for 10 more minutes. It expires at 5:45. And then the southern one down here for Williamson County expires at 6:15. And that's for these winds that you're probably getting where you are. And I think what's really ironic here, guys, is that looking over here on the radar, that we have severe thunderstorm warnings out for reflectivity that looks like this, and just a special weather statement for this storm over here in Auburntown that looks a lot stronger. but it's just the setup we have today. That's all I know to tell you. The setup we have today is that we get these incredibly strong winds underneath light rain, and we have such dry air at the surface that water is evaporating as it falls and making the air very heavy and crashing to the ground. So we have that going on with this wind near, in Davidson and Williamson counties. Over here, not so much. It's more of a traditional storm setup. Over here, we got this cell over here that might be dropping a little bit of hail, and that's what that advisory is for. They have the same setup over there. It's just the storm's acting a little differently over that direction. How are we doing on reports, guys? Anything else coming in? Mostly trees and power lines kind of a thing?
Pretty much the same. A lot of people saying they're losing power. Nashboro Village, a few other places.
Sort of back out just a minute, and we're probably going to get some questions here in a minute about is this it? Is this the main event? At the moment, it looks like it. Again, it's going to be. These storms are so deceiving this evening, so it doesn't look like what we have here is very impressive, and yet we're getting the winds that we are. Will the stuff behind it do the same thing? I doubt it. We'll watch it. We're going to keep an eye on it. It's an unusual setup. We're looking for different things than we normally are. So we're going to watch it. But the biggest threat appears to me, just by looking at it, that this is kind of the main thing, is this wind coming through with this.
There's a 61 mile per hour wind gust at BNA at 5:30. That's so interesting. I'm learning a lot just sitting here watching this. We see this so few times here in Middle Tennessee. This is more of like
This is more of a setup like you would find out in the plains occasionally with a low precipitation supercell kind of event out there in the plains. And so it just this isn't typical of what we see around here setup wise. And so I'm learning a lot just watching this happen out there right now, just because what we're looking for is just so different than what we normally are looking for in a radar presentation like this. So it's good. Hey, David.
What's up?
So you running socials now?
Yeah. Elon, are you
Sweet.
good?
Yeah, you can take it.
Okay.
Sweet. All right. So strong wind gusts there around Smyrna over there in Rutherford County. 67 miles per hour over there in Smyrna. Possible on TBNA. That's probably pretty accurate because it's just right off the ground off there in TBNA. So strong winds, strong gust of wind over there crossing 266. That's where Sam Ridley Parkway and I think Jefferson Pike come together, if I'm not mistaken. Whatever, not too far from the Smyrna Airport. So Smyrna Airport might have a good. In fact, let me turn the radar off. Yeah, that's right there on top of the Smyrna Airport. You'll need to look at what I'm looking at, I guess. So there's that strong wind around Smyrna, 67 miles per hour. And if I turn radar off, it's right there near the Smyrna Airport. So they may have a good reading for us shortly on what that was like. Yeah, it went right over the airport. Right over the airport.
I mean, they're wild structures.
Yeah, it's just it's like a dry microburst. The Weather Service was saying earlier, it's just we're so dry in the low levels that this light rain that's falling is just microbursting straight down as it does evaporative cooling, and it's just a very interesting setup. Yeah, as we expected, the power outage count has now increased to over 16,000 customers in Davidson County. Some of you of which may have just recently gotten your lights on from the round we had a few days ago. But a lot of these are big outages, probably circuits getting tripped from branches and stuff like that, encountering power lines. Those typically will not hopefully take too long to get repaired. So, but it also gives us a little bit of an indication of where those strongest winds were. And to be honest with you, they're sort of scattered. These biggest outages are scattered from Antioch up to the Inglewood area, back toward Hillwood, and even downtown, down to Creve Hall. So spread out. It's pretty widespread, that's for sure. New severe thunderstorm warning, and this is going to be for Davidson County to the east. So they've extended this severe thunderstorm warning to the east. There it is. So new severe thunderstorm warning for eastern Davidson County that will expire at about probably 6:30, I believe is what that is. So that'll expire at 6:30. And again, it's not, for those of you that may be watching over east of us, this is not for this strong storm down here in northern Cannon County. It's not for that storm. It's for this light rain up here in Davidson County. And that's because the winds coming out of this light rain are really strong. They're really strong. They've caused a lot of trees to come down, power lines. 16,000 customers without power currently in Davidson County. A lot of very large circuits tripped in there. A lot of these outages are 1,000 customers or more. So a lot of trees could encounter power lines and cause issues there, at least for a brief time, as this rain comes. I wouldn't even say storms, as this rain comes through and produces these strong winds. So over here to our other radar, TBNA, the strongest winds coming through Nolensville and over towards Smyrna, toward Walter Hill, Murfreesboro, down to College Grove. And then let's go over to the Weather Service radar and look at it there. and little harder to see, but winds could definitely be going over there into Wilson County from eastern Davidson. So a little bit hard to see on radar exactly where these winds are, but according to the power outage map and stuff like that, it's pretty easy to tell. It's pretty widespread. Pretty widespread. Let's see here. All right, so our one of our severe thunderstorm warnings is going to expire here in about 30 seconds, and that's one that covers downtown Nashville. So winds should be calming down in the downtown area, and most of the heavy winds pushing over to the east from maybe BNA over to the east. Let's see here. So one of the reports we're getting here, this is from Holly Tree Gap over toward south of Manly. So trees down there. This is what I'm talking about. Kind of one of these areas where these tree-lined roads that can really be a problem when the wind gets up and these trees come down. One of the cars looks an SUV there looks pretty crooked. I'm really hoping that wasn't hit by that tree as it came down. But it's definitely a dangerous situation when these winds really get up like this and these trees that really, honestly, have pretty saturated root systems right now. The soil is still pretty wet, saturated from the rains we had and last week. And these trees can come down fairly easily. It looks like we've had quite a few of these things happen. So that's a tree that came down Holly Tree Gap over south of Manly. Winds have really died down at my place. So looking at radar, it looks like there's about a 10 to 15 minute window of these winds coming through, and then they died down. They've really died down at my house. Still blowing maybe 20 miles an hour, but the 60s that we had, I'm pretty certain, didn't last maybe 10 minutes. So it looks to me the strongest winds, just based on where I am and the strong winds that came through, look to be from pretty well inside Rutherford County, Smyrna, between Smyrna and Murfreesboro on I-24. Let's see what the outage map is doing. 13,000 now, so it's come down a little bit. Some of these, what they do is when these big circuits get interrupted like this, so like 4,600 customers here down in the Cane Ridge, Laverne area. They can usually, if it's just a branch encountered a line, they can reset that circuit, that whole circuit, and get that back in order pretty quick. Doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes they can. So the bigger the outage, sometimes the easier it is to get that resolved. And they can reset some stuff and get you back in business. But so hopefully that'll be the case as we go through the next few hours here. Let's see here. So 2 severe thunderstorm warnings remaining in effect. One up here for Davidson, eastern Davidson. That's going to be east of Briley Parkway. So Briley Parkway to the east. And that expires here at 6:30. And then the other severe thunderstorm warning down here in Williamson County, basically from downtown Franklin to the east. And that's going to be in effect until 6:30 as well, or 6:15 rather. And but both of those may go away early for us in Davidson, Williamson, if the winds move out. Ashley over there in the chat asked any insights on what the rest of the evening looks like for Davidson. So what I mentioned a minute ago, if we zoom out, there's really not much upstream of us. So the storms are coming out of the northwest today. So up toward Clarksville and Murray, Paducah. Not much going on up there. Let's go to the Paducah radar. And really not much up there. So, but at the same time, we have to understand that these strong winds came from very light showers. So we don't think that that will happen too many more times because the lower levels of the atmosphere will start to moisten up with this rain. And the air being dry at the low levels is what caused the wind. So hopefully, as the lower levels moisten up some, we should not get the strong winds that we just had. But we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, it looks encouraging upstream of us. Don't see any warnings. Nothing out there right at the moment. Somebody says over in the chat, it's calm in Donaldson, 5 minutes from B&A. That's encouraging. That's good. And that makes sense that it's calm over there. The winds have mostly moved out 5 minutes from B&A. So Cane Ridge area winds have calmed as well. So that's good to know. And that's the case here. I'm not too far from Cane Ridge. And yeah, same here. Winds have calmed big time. Somebody said, how does rain cause the wind? So the situation today is very interesting. The air down here at the surface has been very dry today down here at the surface. And so what happens is as this rain falls through that dry air, usually it's kind of the other way around. The dry air is maybe up in the atmosphere, but here the air gets drier as you get closer to the surface. So as that rain falls through that air, it evaporates. And as it evaporates, you get what's called evaporational cooling. So that air cools off as it falls. So, well, what happens to cold air? Cold air is dense, right? So that air starts falling. It falls faster and faster and faster until it crashes into the ground. And with the air drying as it goes, as we get lower in the atmosphere today, the more rain that falls through there, the further it falls through that atmosphere, that dry atmosphere, it's going to dry more, it's going to cool more, and it's just going to compound on itself, and you get what's kind of called a dry microburst. It's very little rain, but you get a lot of wind with it. So yeah, it's not a very impressive radar picture except for the velocities. And again, it's an unusual setup for us. We just don't get this kind of setup very often around here. This is more of a Central Plains kind of a setup. You get that out there sometimes, or maybe even the desert west, the desert areas in the west can get this as well. Let's see what we're looking here on power outages. We were at 13,000, still about 13,000. Still some of the bigger outages remain. One of them down here around Laverne. That's the biggest one. It's like one up here around Inglewood. Really Eastwood, Greenwood area. So it looks like most of Laverne is without power. That's interesting. And then back here around Davidson Road, Hillwood area. And a lot of customers right there around the Capitol.
I think that was that power line that went down from a tree.
Oh, we're up there. Yeah, where was that? Was up off of 8th Avenue, or couldn't tell where that was. Right there in that area, though.
Yeah, right there in that area.
Looks like that's right there around the Creve Hall area, Battery Lane, Franklin Road, Creve Road, Hogan Road, over in my old neck of the woods. I grew up right there on Creve Road. So a lot of scattered power outages with this one. Cleesus Ferry. This is up around Bell's Bend. Yeah, it looks like they just trimmed Williamson County out of the warning. Not surprising there. Things have calmed down here. I'm on the far eastern side of Williamson, and that has calmed down significantly here at my place. So they'll probably do the same thing in Davidson here shortly. Let's see. Okay, here's the Smyrna wind gusts. Let's see. 59.8 miles per hour from the west. .62 looks like was the gust at 62 miles per hour was the gust at B&A.
Testing.
There you go.
Hey.
I was going to say there was a question about the anything coming later tonight. I don't see anything anywhere on any of the model data. Our severe thunderstorm warning or watch ends at 9. That makes a lot of sense. So I don't think this is certainly not gonna be one of those overnight events. I think this was probably it for us. We'll certainly watch to the northwest down I-24, but I don't see anything else coming. And I count at least 7 reported and documented wind events, and most of them in Nashville, one in Williamson County. But this is a really unusual event for us. Like, I know, and there we go. Now we've both been canceled.
Yeah.
The severe thunderstorm warnings are now officially east of us into Wilson, Sumner, Rutherford County, and points east along there. So that should be it for us for the evening.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing an event like this, David. I was trying to, if we have, I'm trying to remember when it was, but if we've had it, it's been a long time.
Yeah, so when I was looking at some of the forecast data at lunchtime, it was showing dew points in the 30s on the HRRR model. I thought that was insane.
Yeah.
And and of course that was too low, but that's still a really, really dry column for us near the surface, and this is what you get from it. This is almost the inverse of the severe thunderstorm warnings we get. Usually we get heavy rain, lightning, a little bit of hail, and a lot of wind. This has been a little bit of light rain and a whole lot of wind coming down. No hail. Certainly not, some places are probably rained out. Some fields probably are, but I would imagine most are not. There were only a few small pockets of kind of heavy rain. So like if you're in Franklin tonight, you're probably playing baseball. If you're in Nashville, depending on your field, you might be okay.
We've recorded 0 at my house, and now it may have blown past my rain gauge, but like we're at 0 at my house.
It might have evaporated right before it hit your gauge.
Yeah, it may have actually. Yeah. So this is what you get in that kind of setup. So I think the main thing here, of course, the warnings are now east of us, but the main thing is keep sending those reports in. Those are really valuable. So let us know what damage you run across. Do all of it safely, but if you can get a picture, cross street, all that stuff, let us know what damage you see out there. Send that in using hashtag TSpotter on Twitter or on X. DM us on Instagram, put it in our replies. Just get a hold of us, let us know what damage you see. We'll get that over to the Weather Service. But we hope this is it, but the wind looks to be east of us. So, all right, we'll be over on socials, guys. We'll talk to you later.